Welcome to our usual hovers. I'm Meeka Nomicon, and today I can play the game Burdock, where we find ourselves lost in the woods, and now we need to navigate numerous perils to try to reclaim our life. Oh, I hear whisperings of my name. My name is Meek. Thank you. Wait, hold on. I never agreed to trade it. Prologue. A name for a life. Well, names do have power, I suppose. This is nothing like a fairy tale. The wedding is my own, but filled with great yawning emptiness. The church altar stands unadorned. No flowers, no friends in the aisles. No sisters either. No weeping Agatha, or smiling Maud. No sour-faced Mags even, shrew that she is. Emptiest of all are the pretty vows I exchange with the stranger standing beside me, because the true contract between us has nothing to do with expressions of love. Though both impoverished, the stranger has a name in the world, and my own name is of so little consequence as to appear as a mere X in the parish register. I have never been able to write. Through this bloodless marriage, my settlement portion secures for my sisters a future free from the destitution of our past. The stranger leveraged that honorable name to find them well-paid positions in respectable houses. In exchange, my own future is now entirely bound to the maintenance of the stranger's pride, for the poverty of a great name is far different than that known by poor and nameless. Wait, so I agreed to marry you to essentially become an eternal servant to you? I suppose at least my sisters will be looked after. The things I do for you people. I have always put my hand to whatever work might pay for our next meal, but I now understand that certain work is beneath those of greater standing. Of course, penury is also beneath those with the name. What was the stranger to do? Unable to sully their hands with work, but with pockets too empty to pay for a servant's wages. So yes, the clear solution. Just marry a servant. Were it up to me, I should have sold the remote property where we will be settling, and instead bought a small cottage with room for a garden and perhaps some chickens. But the stranger berated me when I suggested this, explaining that a great name must have a great house to be of worth, even if the upkeep is damnable inconvenient and expensive. But now the stranger must only see me fed and clothed, and while I am bound to them by marriage, my role will be that of a permanent servant. My past will never again be spoken of, and my relationship to my sisters is forever severed, so as not to bring shame upon the name now stamped upon me like a brand. I admit, I understand little of the stranger's reasoning, but it seems clear enough that we each have more wants than wisdom. I do. I have spent my life believing I had nothing, but as I repeat the words of the priest, I wonder now if that were true, or if I am now giving up my life for nothing but a name. No, we can't think of it that way. I feel like thinking of giving it up for a name is going to make us sad. Just remember, we gave it up for our sisters, so they can have a better life. And it could be a worse situation. I mean, yes, we are now a permanent servant, but we are guaranteed to be housed and fed, right? I thought I entered into this arrangement without illusions. I did not think my duties would involve driving. However, I can count on one hand the number of times I have ridden in a carriage and still have fingers left to spare. If I ever did suspect that one day it would be my lot, though, I suppose it was likely as the equipage would resemble this, run down, the very sorriest of all possible steeds, sauntering forth in the traces, with neither enthusiasm nor speed, nor any more sense of the roadway than I hold in the trembling reins myself. I feel like that's the best possible situation for us. I mean, if we've got no confidence in driving, the last thing we want is like some great steed that's going to just zoom off. That would instantly probably kill us. I'm quite happy with that low enthusiastic, very slow-paced horse. The fog which this morning crowned the top of the tree is like a wedding veil, now slinks between their trunks like an animal. The horse and I share distrust of that skulking mist, which now and then stretches out to obscure the road, tangling in the wheels, pressing at the sides of the open carriage, slicking the seat with dew. Should we be even trying to drive right now? I mean, if we've got a fog that keeps masking the road, we could possibly just fall off the road, right? Go down to a ditch or something. Maybe we should just pull over for a bit if we're not even confident driving in broad daylight. Between the mist and the shaded twilight of the mountain forest, it is impossible to gauge how far we have travelled. There are no markers, only more pitted road and spooling before us, more trees crowding to either side of us. Except for when they vanish altogether, and in their place, the edge of a precipice can be glimpsed between the ribbons of swirling fog. Wait, so we're even riding along a cliff face, essentially. I don't know how big a cliff it is, but if there's enough to be a precipice, we're just asking you to die. This is a dangerous situation to be in. My hands are numb with cold. I can taste a frost waiting, suspended in the air. Old and familiar nemesis that it is. Unsure exactly how to properly urge the horse on, I click my tongue at it, gently shaking the reins as I might a damp sheet laid out to dry. Why do we want this horse to go faster? At this thing, I think we want that horse to slow down. I mean, we should be going snail speed. It has no perceivable impact on our pace, and I tuck my elbows closer in, trying to conserve what little warmth I have left. The stranger I married remains oblivious to my discomfort, bundled snugly in a moth-eaten woolen blankets, nodding off without concern the impending bad weather, only pleased that the servant who bears their name and costs no wages is properly employed at the reins. Oh, well, that's good then, so when we inevitably fall off a cliff, at least our spouse isn't going to realise until it's too late. I do not share their confidence. That's a bad sound. Wait, did we really go off the cliff? Perhaps this entire matter was ill-advised after all. The cold is gone. Everything is warm. We 100% fell off the precipice, right? I told you this was gonna happen. And it's a really bad sign that we're warm. I mean, I'm pretty sure when you're outside in the fog like this, if you start feeling warm, that essentially means you're probably dying. Dimly, I become aware of a terrible weight upon my back, pressing me deep into the moss and bracken of the forest floor, crushing the air from my lungs. Oh, that's unfortunate. So we either landed under the horse or the carriage. How's our spouse doing? Oh, they're gonna be dead, aren't they? Am I gonna get blamed if they die? An attempt to rise fails. My legs have no feeling, and only one arm responds to my command to push back against the weight. Abandoning the efforts as futile, I instead strike out, gripping the earth in one hand, dragging myself over knobbled roots and sharp sticks, damp leaves clinging to my face and arm. I am outpaced by snails, but in motion nevertheless. Eventually, air finds its way into my chest again, rattling noisily in my throat as I finally pull myself clear of the upturned carriage. With a final push, I roll and put my back into the rotting stump, soft with moss, and survey the wreckage. The horse is nowhere to be found, which comes as a relief. It must have broken free as the traces snapped. I surmise hazily. I wish it well in finishing the journey for us. An appendage juts out from beneath the wreck. A cursory glance assures me that it is not mine. The stranger I married was less fortunate than the horse, it would seem. Oh, damn. I've been married for a day and I'm already a widow. This is gonna look very bad on me, right? I mean, especially because I was driving. I mean, silver linings. I can probably now sell the house, right? And just buy a small cottage that we wanted. Oh, I'm so gonna get arrested. This sunken forest glade is journey's end for us both. Then, a truth even I can read. Written out in the trailing, garish red of blood, I have traced along the green and brown of the earth, in the limbs which do not answer my calling, and the air which even now I struggle to find in sufficient supply. With nothing to do but wait to die, I blink, and time passes. You taste like sacrifice. The voice is a whisper on the wind, the sigh of trees and water, something false and imagined, a trick of the mind. Still, I bestir myself and open my eyes once more. Against the wash of crimson, I register a green more verdant than any I've previously known, a curiously dark gaze fixed on me with interest. Why, you are glorious. Also, are those tree roots embedded into your organs? Sacrifice. The word wrenches from my throat with violence, but emerges almost without sound. The odd figure of green nods, tracing my limp arm with one sharp-tipped finger. It comes away stained with my blood, which they then sample with all the fastidiousness and relish of a gourmand at a banquet. I don't remember offering you my blood. Yes, the faint sweetness, sacrifice, the bitterness of regret, a slight tang of selfishness. But sacrifice, willing sacrifice. It has been some time since I last tasted it. The fathomless gaze returns to my face, lips now streaked with crimson. It is a concept foreign to my kind, you see, quite rare in yours. Their chin jerks in the direction of a limp hand, extending from beneath the crushed carriage. That one, for example, is sour with indolence. Dead also, which adds little to the flavor. But you, pardon me, but what are you? The green head tips to the side like an inquisitive bird, brow furrowing in a ripple of lichen. I have no reason to call myself anything in particular. What do I appear to be? Oh, just your general kind of, tree, fae, nymph-like creature maybe? Are you a tree god? Oh, you do have a spiderweb on your roots though. My vision is clouding, and I blink rapidly, trying to refocus on the form before me. Dying mid-conversation feels innately rude, and I have no desire to offend this creature, whatever they may be. Are you? Oh, okay, so you do have basically both my options, like a tree, fairy, fae kind of deal. I can also call you Death. Well, that would explain why you've suddenly appeared now as I'm dying. Imagine if I just called you a friend. There you go, just comfort me in my death. Would calling it a human insult it? What do we want to say? I did think you were a tree fae, so let's say you're a tree. They rock back on their heels, letting out a clattering laugh that battles in the nearest branches, echoing up to the sky. I would have thought myself a better conversationalist in your tongue, but if you would have it so, a tree I shall be. Well, even better than that, you shall be a great tree apparently. The dark eyes turn speculative. Do you fear me? I catch my head as my chin dips to my chest, trying to straighten myself and failing. Not especially. I know that I am dying. It's nice to have company. I thought I would be alone. The great tree tips forward, hands clasped between their knees, their face now but a handbreadth from my own. Nothing dies alone. Death is always with the dying, and even if she were not, there are ever millions who die in the same moment. Flowers, insects, the crawling creatures, the winged and feathered, the leviathans beneath the sea, and yes, you humans as well. I hope I die with a leviathan. That will make my death important. I shall accept death with the knowledge that I die alongside a great creature like that. No one and nothing dies alone, but always in a glorious collective chorus, a crescendo of life giving way to precious, impossible, and shared silence. A faint sigh flutters across my lips, only a fraction of the air returning to me after. That's nice. Thank you. The great tree is now hovering over me. My limp arm lifts close to their face as they breathe in the scent of my blood with apparent relish. I could keep you for myself. I can drive death away. Or do you prefer to die? No, I want to live. The answer is torn from me in a rasping croak, but it is immediate and simple, catching even me off guard. What do I have to live for now? Only myself, I suppose. Is that truly enough? I weigh the question, but though I cannot find it in me to place any external value on my life, still, I want to live, and I do not wish to die. The great tree settles on their knees over me, now idly playing with my hair. There will be a cost. I meant it when I said sacrifice and selflessness aren't foreign to my kind. I don't have anything to give. The black eye is fastened on me, arrested. At this near distance, I can see that they are flecked with tiny golden lights, almost like stars. I believe you do. Wait, hold on a second. You've already stolen some of my blood, so the way I see it, you technically already owe me. So I think you should save my life for free. I mean, I will donate another lick's worth of blood if you like. Only what's external though, you're not allowed any fresh blood. My head lolls back against the stump as I return their gaze uncertain. Your name? Give me your name, and I will bargain with death for you. They now appear no more than a looming green silhouette, edges soft and indistinct. I mean, do I particularly want to give away my name? It's kind of the last thing I have. And would it be worth it to live regardless? Let's face it, my spouse just died in rather suspicious circumstances. Even if I survive this forest, am I not going to get blamed for their death? Or maybe I wouldn't even be allowed to keep the estate, since how newly our marriage is. I'm just going to remain silent. The fathomless eyes narrow. Is it that you cannot speak, or that you will not? A flourish of mist presses past my dry lips, filling my broken chest with all the air I have been deprived of. I can speak. Good. You also now have tasted the power I have. So I ask again, will you give me your name? While I appreciate your powers of bending air, nope, I don't want to give you my name. All goes still, even the air itself, the fog pausing in its aimless drifting. The faint murmuration of birds in the forest also quiets, as if a universal pause has been called as we await the great tree's reply. I am generous enough to give you another chance to answer, knowing that the only alternative is death. Will you instead give me your name? Oh, you're not used to being disobeyed, are you? Oh no, I will not. As you will then. You are all so curious and contain so much contradiction, bravery and cowardice, intelligence and simplicity. I should have liked to keep you, but it is of no great matter. The great tree shifts away from me, the green fading away in the darkening glade. Enjoy your death, little sacrifice. I shall see to it that your bones are cleaned and polished, and the rest of you put to proper use. Flesh for the hungry, hair for binding nests, decay to enrich the soil. And of course, you may take my blood. Then again, I'm not entirely sure how well it's going to taste with tinted with death, right? The cold has returned to what little of my person I can still feel, and each uncertain breath comes slower and shallower than the last. I feel the impulse to call after them, though whether to say goodbye, or perhaps to change my answer, or ask them to stay to the end, I myself cannot clearly determine. Even if I could, I realize the labor of breathing has ceased entirely now. No more words will ever form on my lips and tongue. In the stillness, I can hear the sluggish pulse of my own blood, my heartbeat a low percussion like a fading summer rain, growing ever more faint. My sight is gone, But finally, I can see death for myself, both grotesque and beautiful. One icy hand moves to cover my eyes, and then there is truly nothing. Oh, we didn't even get to say death. Okay, so before we go off and actually give this creature our name, I'm just curious if there's any of these that he finds distasteful that we call him. So he didn't mind being called a tree, and I'm assuming fairies can be a similar response. The red stain on their lips twists into a smile, revealing even white teeth and over-sharp canines, and a rush of fallen leaves rises around us on a sudden gust of wind. Perhaps it may be the closest to true in your language. The dark eyes turn spective. Okay, so they appreciate fairy. I'm guessing that's gonna be the closest then. What about a friend, huh? Their head tips further still, a puzzled expression gathering on their brow. It is a concept I do not fully understand, but I admit I thought the criteria to be more restrictive. Still, if you wish to call me friend, I shall permit it. The dark eyes turn spective. Listen, I'm just hoping for you to give me a freebie, like, just save my life, you're my friend and all, that kind of deal. Does that make me a bad friend? I've decided, you shall be death. The tree line at their back sways gently in the wind, leaves flickering, and the figure observes me without evident sympathy or mercy. Death is the one with bony hands wrapped around your throat. Can you not see her for yourself? Or at least feel her grip as it tightens? I know her well, but I am not she. No, instead you should be the green one. The dark eyes turn speculative. Okay, so our last option is human. And I did leave this one to last because I feel like this is the one that's going to offend the creature. So, are you a human? Just a bit overtaken with moss and trees. They let out a snort of disgust, and several birds scatter noisily from the branches of a nearby tree. No, that I am not. The dark eyes turn speculative. Okay, not human. I'm definitely not going to get a free save this time. Do you think if we give them a false name, it'll make them mad enough to abandon us? Or maybe it'll make them mad enough to actually kill us? Let's try. My name is Bags. Hold on. When I said give them a false name, I didn't mean give them the name of our sister. Imagine if we accidentally signed her up for a contract with this creature. I just finished saving you. Then again, I think I said Mags for the shrew at least, right? So at least it's my worst sister. The not human gives a gentle laugh. The grasses around us rippling with bowing in response. You are wise indeed, but wisdom will not serve you here. That name is vacant. Its owner is not present. Will you give your own name, or will you die instead? Oh, well, I entertained him. Well, lucky for you, Mags. You lived to see another day. I couldn't give the stranger's name, right? I mean, I did just get given the stranger's name myself. So, can I give away that name? The not human snarls, looking back towards the wrecked carriage dismissively. That name is not yours, but theirs, and I can taste how little is shared in life. I asked for your name, sacrifice. Ah, well, I made it mad. Not mad enough to kill us, though. I'll give you my name. My name is Meek. The blur of the not human's face splits in a wide smile. Meek. My Meek. Little sacrifice. I shall spare you a fraction of my power until the mists clear. One sharp finger begins to trace some form of sigil across my brow. An eye flinches, it burns on contact. The mist swirls more densely between us, wrapping around me in a cloak of frigid damp and wind. A plume cuts through my throat, and I gasp, taking a cold air in with desperate swallows. For a moment, all I can do is recollect how one is meant to breathe, a matter even newborn babes manage without instruction, and yet I find it was readily forgotten. The not human waits patiently, observing my laboured heaving and panting impassively. Once I am more sure of my voice, I coughed once, trying to meet them gaze for gaze. Do I not get to know your name in return? My teeth are chattering, but my chest now rises and falls as steadily as it used to. The green face becomes sharper, clearer in my vision, eyes crinkling at the corners, as if in response to a private joke. Perhaps, if you earn it. But first, you must survive. They bite down hard on the pad of one viridescent thumb, concluding their sigil on my brow with a striped seal of amber blood, like a sap from the tree. At once, the cold is shaken from my limbs, warmth and feeling returning to fingers and toes, tingling awareness, like water sparking as it hits hot oil in a pan. Survive? I thought. I revolved the not human's words in my head, clarity returning to my thoughts as well as my vision. They continued to gaze down at me, inscrutable. You said, until the mist clear. They smile, as if pleased by a small child who has successfully executed the very simplest of tasks. I did. Your precious name, Meek, has brought you time and opportunity. To purchase life beyond that, however, you must first prove yourself worthy of being at the very least my attendant. Should you excel, well, then perhaps I shall tell you my name in turn, and confer with it a great share of my power. Wait, so if I need to prove myself to be your attendant, does that mean I'm never actually returning to my own life? If I prove myself, do I just spend the rest of my eternity with you? I don't know how I feel about that. The enigmatic gaze narrows. But, should you fail, your life would dissipate with the clearing of the fog. How can I prove myself then? What qualities would make me worthy? I am not of noble birth, and I have few talents. The not human rises to their feet in an impossibly fluid motion, waving a hand dismissively. The standards whereby you mortals judge yourselves are of very little matter here, and do not interest me in the slightest. Whatever you have been before, whatever shall yet become, your present concern is the same. You must complete 3 tasks. The first, they raise a single sharp finger and indicate the tree line in an elegant sweeping motion. The first, you must cross this wood. The second, they withdraw the arm and playfully twine their fingers in a furling strand of mist. For the second, you must cross the air. Last, the not human cups both hands before their mouth, blowing the fog away in a swirling wave. For the last, you must cross the water. Only then you shall find the gates to my realm. Okay, can I make 3 requests? I feel like these will be easily achievable if I get a map, a plane, and a boat. But then again, that may defeat the entire purpose of the challenges. Feeling enough has returned to my legs now that I risk shifting my foot. Finding them steady beneath me, I rise, looking up at the not human. Cross the wood, cross the air, and cross water. It seems simple enough. They chuckle at this, and I feel the ground tremble slightly underfoot with the sound. Does it? Perhaps it is. Still, since you gave me your name, I shall give you a final bit of assistance. As if conjured from the air itself, a knot of wood rises in their palm as it grows there, which they then break off and extend to me. Gingerly, I take it in hand and find that while I thought it would, it is weighty, reflecting the dim light of the glade with the clarity of gold. A stone I do not know the name of, for shimmers at the center, warm as the sun. Beside it another gem glistens cold as starlight. As I examine the ring in astonishment, I notice a third final jewel, this one more subtle than the first 2, and black as moonless night. It is a favorite trinket of mine. If you should find yourself unable to complete any of the tasks on your own, Turn it thrice upon your finger, and help shall come. Be warned, however, little sacrifice. Abruptly closing the distance between us, they take my chin in hand, tilting my face gently upwards. The strange voice pitches low, like a rumbling of a distant storm. All things have a cost. You'll want to be wary of seeking easier pathways, without knowing the toll they shall exact in the end. With this, they release me, stepping away. Their silhouette once more begins to blur and shift, though I scrub at my eyes. With the back of her hand, they appear no clearer for it. I wish you the look of the trees, which do not fall to fire, of rabbits which escape the snare, and of birds which survive the lightning, my Meek, my little sacrifice. Perhaps then we shall meet again at the gates of my kingdom. With a final flourish of grey mist, the brilliant green of their form is swallowed up by the glade, as if it never was anything else, and I am alone. Well, the first task. Cross the wood. Okay, so it could be worse. I mean, they were definitely going for the elemental theme, so they could have tasked me to cross some fire as well, which, I'm not entirely convinced would survive. The not human gone, and my death postponed for the time being, I sink into the luxury of a moment's reflection. It doesn't take much to immediately find myself questioning how real this situation can possibly be. Yet just behind me lies a pile of broken timber that not so very long ago was a carriage, and beneath it the remains of a stranger who not so very long ago was my spouse. And resting in the palm of my hand, a bit of jewelry that resembles wood, two of the unfamiliar gems winking in the wan light, and the third absorbing it into shadow. Perhaps I am dead, after all. Perhaps this is purgatory. All the same, though, I see no way forward without first fulfilling these assigned tasks. After the briefest hesitation, I took off the plain wedding ring that was placed on my hand just this morning, replacing it with the not human's token. The simple band weighs heavy in my hand, and reluctantly, I draw it nearer to the only part of my dead spouse visible beneath the wreckage. Crouching beside it, I place the wedding band in the hollow of their palm, my fingers inadvertently brushing against theirs, which already have gelid and stiff. I try to suppress my shudder, set on showing them at least that much respect. You are never more than a stranger to me, but I am sorry you met your end this way. I wish you well on your journey. I rise, preparing to shift my thoughts to the first of my tasks, but instead find my vision suddenly clouded, the mist now dark as coal smoke. Leaving so soon? How little your vows have meant. I whirl, trying to face the voice, but it seems to come from the very air. Wait, is that the spirit of my spouse? Listen, I respected the vows, it's just, I'm pretty sure a vow says till death do us part. You're dead, so I shall part. Still, I recognize it. I am sorry, You know, in some eras, the spouse was buried alive alongside their fallen other half. A gesture of proper respect. I'm pretty sure that only applied to, like, kings and rulers and pharaohs, right? I don't think it happened to the general public. I hope. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to die. I'm sure if you still had life left after the accident, the not human might then have... The not human? Their kind only seek to slake their own selfish desires, to sup upon that which humans have, and they will forever lack. You have an inferior kind of manner to you, a sense of subservience. It is why I chose you for my partner. You pose no threat. You give up what you so very, very easily. The cloying smoke and fog sigh like a drafty chimney. But now I find those traits most inconvenient. My name is all that remains of me, and you are all that remains to bear it. If you insist on flaunting your inherent vulgarity by outliving me, I demand you at least return to civilization as my living monument, and see to it that I am not forgotten and left to rot here in this wood. The air stings my eyes, sticking in my chest in a viscous haze, which cough though I might, I cannot seem to expel. How would you have me do that? I live only because of the intervention of the not human. If I disobey their command, your death is my service, would be preferable to your survival in theirs. But I do have a solution to propose. I turn, prepared to stride away from the noxious fumes, but the dead hand suddenly turns, gripping my ankle and causing me to fall, the circle of my ring pressing around infant to my skin. I am not yet finished speaking. My love, you would do well to listen. If nothing else, you owe me that, as the one who authored my demise. Listen, your demise is on you. You're the one that got me to drive. I never claimed I could drive. It was you who... Silence! What I have to say is to your own benefit. Or do you prefer to live in the service of that not human? I am left without a reply to this, beyond choking still on the polluted fog. Good. You will find that the remaining broken traces are of iron chain. The one who would be your master cannot stand against cold iron. What you must do then is to wrap some fragments of the broken traces at your ankles and wrists and conceal it beneath your clothes. Then, once you have completed your tasks and stand at the gateway to their realm, they shall grant you your life in full, but find they are unable to drag you with them. I struggled to keep my leg free, but the hand is like a manacle, clammy and unyielding. How do you know so much about the not human? The voice drops to a growl. I know, because I know death. She is most displeased to have you snatched out of her grasp so rudely, and I am helping you, ingrate that you are. The not human is bound by their bargain with you, whether you know it or not. Complete your tasks, and they will ensure you shall live. It is up to you to outsmart them by this measure, and then make your way back to civilization. Oh, so the plan really was for me to come there, servant for life as well, huh? As if doused by water, the darkness and discomfort abruptly wash away on a chill wind, and my ankle is freed, the hand going limp once more. I cannot stay longer, as I am dead. I cannot force your hand, but I shall hope that you should survive and find yourself in possession of my estate. You will at least send someone to collect my remains, and see to it I receive a proper burial. Remember my words, though, and remember that you are all that is left of my name. You owe me. With that, they are truly gone. The hand lies flaccid against the earth, the ring I left daubed with soil and almost hidden beneath one fish-belly pale arm. Okay, so do I want to escape back to civilization? That is the choice we're gonna make. I still have a strong suspicion I'll get blamed for their death. So, I'm just gonna disregard the ghost suggestion. If I must choose, I would prefer the master that offered the path of equality, however narrow. Turning my back on the wreckage, I walk away, my breath easing the further I am from the vengeful corpse of my spouse. Then, setting the unpleasant encounter aside, I redirect my thoughts to the task at hand. A quick scan shows the tree line to be unnaturally dense and wholly impassable. Yet crossing through a wood seems simple enough. One only needs... Ooh! I like an axe. Then again, how dense are the trees? I suppose I can take out the branches, right, and just wiggle my way through. I choose destruction. An axe it shall be. Sadly, I have none. Even if I were assured of having time enough to clear my way through such means, though observing the stump I had been leaning against, it appears far too cleanly cut for a natural tree fall, the other stumps ringing the glade as similarly precise, though equally blanketed in moss and mushrooms. Oh, so it's been quite a while since any tree came down then. Also, are you telling me that by selecting axe, one does not magically appear before me? I feel cheated. Perhaps there's a woodsman nearby. Even if they have retired their axe, they must certainly know a way through this wood where it might be less dense. Unable to come up with a better course, I begin walking, ever watchful for some break in the wood. There, a herd of grazing deer. I jog forward, and the herd raise their heads, looking in my direction with concern while poised for flight. Is it really a good idea for us to run towards a herd of wild animals? Chances are we're just going to spook them and they will trample me. Would I die if they trampled me? I mean, I should technically be dead already, right? So maybe I wouldn't? A handful of bucks among the group lower their heads, antlers displayed threateningly. I stop, instinctively holding my hands up in surrender. No! I don't mean any harm. I just want to see where you all go. And where should we go, human? My head jerks in the direction of the low, melodic voice, and to my surprise, I see a doe standing before me regally, half again as tall as any of the bucks. Stand down, you lot. I will handle this. Before my wandering gaze, the doe grows taller still, hindquarters shortening and limbs reshaping into a more human form. Her face becomes rounded and beautiful, even as her eyes remain wary and contemptuous. There, now that I begin to resemble your kind, you shall answer me. What exactly are your intentions? My mouth is dry, and I swallow several times, wetting my tongue to reply. I only want to cross through this wood, mister. One long velvet ear flickers, her dark eyes narrowing. I am a majesty, not a miss, and no one crosses this wood, human. I'm starting to get the impression that you don't particularly care for humans. I feel my face fall. I suppose that would be too easy, wouldn't it? I apologize, Your Majesty. Her expression softens invisibly. In response, I will forgive you the impertinence, as you are but human, and it is true that there once was one charged with clearing the paths. But I look up eagerly, meeting her eyes, and she sighs warily in response. That one was a fool, however. He desired me, and when I denied him, he sought to entrap me. Her gaze sharpens so rapidly, I feel it slice at the edges of my own perception before it can flinch away. He set a snare for me. Me, the fool. Okay, I have two questions, or rather concerns. They're concerning questions. I mean, one, was the person hired to clear the paths human? And two, please tell me you were in this form when he started to desire you. I don't want any black sheep shenanigans going on here. Then again, for all I know, maybe he's just like a doe boy instead. I mean, a bookman. Maybe that's what he is. But I will not be ensnared. However clever the trap, it only served to curse him. A faint, frightening smile touches her lips, and I feel the air chill. I broke free with ease, and when next he raised his axe, it slipped, and his own head was severed from his shoulders. Ah! Yeah, I can kind of see why that would, be a bit inconvenient when clearing paths. She gives a graceful shrug, her gaze now as tired as eternity. Still, I will admit it is inconvenient for my herd to no longer have our pathways readily cleared. So, he's dead? the forest dark eyes fix on my own. How would you punish such a one, if it were you he sought to trap? Death is by far too quick and simple. He still lives yonder, where he ever has. The magnetic gaze fastens on something in the distance, and following its direction, I spy a small hut, overgrown and dilapidated. Oh! It is all the answer I can manage, and it comes only with great effort. Still, I must cross this wood somehow. There must be some solution. I clear my throat, scrapping together the remaining threads of my determination. I assume he cannot see to cut pathways any longer, being without a head. Wait, hold on. So it's the body that still lives? I mean, I always assumed that if you got decapitated but you're also cursed to stay alive, it'd be the head that kept the sentience, right? Or at the very least, both parts got sentient. But are they kind of like twins then, since they're technically different entities now? One brow rises. You assume correctly, human. He can hardly raise himself, much less an axe. Would you... Where is his head now? The other brow follows the first, but her eyes glint with amusement rather than malice. Rotted away these 100 years since. Before I can react, she raises a finger to stop my words. That is not to say a replacement cannot be found. If one were resourceful enough, I could be persuaded to breathe life into it, some other form. Wait, I've got a solution. We need to find him a pumpkin. It's a brilliant plan. We'll find him a pumpkin, we'll give it a bit of a carving, give him a face, and then we shall just call him Peter. I feel a swell of encouragement, but quickly tamp it down, considering all she had said closely. The not human said that everything has a cost. What price would you exact for this aid, then? She smiles at this, glorious and warm as a picnic on a summer day. You are well instructed. With the long passage of time, however, my anger has cooled, and as this would benefit my herd, the cost is but minor. Answer me 3 riddles to prove yourself not a fool, and I shall tell you where he might find a new head. I blink rapidly. Riddles to prove I'm not a fool? Her laughter rings clear as birdsong. Indeed, I will not suffer fools in my wood. You need an answer all 3 correctly, if you are not so wise, but you must achieve at least 1 right answer, to prove you are no fool either. I force myself to return her smile, attempting to show I am ready for such challenge, though my hands tremble with anxiety lest I fail. I accept then. What is the first riddle? Will you answer on your own, or do you wish for multiple choice options? Well, let's face it, I don't trust in my ability not to be a fool, so I'll go for the multiple choices. Then again, I'm also kind of feeling like I want to fail all 3 riddles, just to see what would happen. Her face settling once more to regal seriousness, she intones with the meter of a poet. What is it that a child might hold in one hand, which, once both are fully grown, much taller shall stand? Oh, it's going to be an acorn, right? Since once it's fully grown, it's a massive tree. But, for the sake of seeing what happens when I anger her and convince I'm a fool, let's say I'm talking about a friend. A friend? Now for the next. You may give it, I may take it. You might keep it, or else break it. Whatever its value, it carries this fee. Only as good as you make it, you be. Oh, so it's gonna be our word, right? Because we can definitely keep it. Can you take a word? Oh, you can take someone for their word, right? And then I can definitely keep it or break it. But, you know, I'm gonna keep my own word and give you friendship. Friendship? Are you quite sure? Some are born with noble ones, some with none at all. Some outlive their bearers, others with them fall. It can be used to summon, although it is no spell. And when in company with they, you'll want to guard yours well. That is names. I can use it to summon the demons. Should I know their full names? Names have power, you know. And my name has the power to get one right, so we're gonna say dreams. Your dreams? She sighs heavily, turning away from me. Alas, another fool. I have wasted enough of my time on you, human. Be gone. I attempt to call her back, but she has returned her dear form, and the herd quickly turns and departs faster than I can keep pace. The woodsman's hut also proves empty. How can I possibly cross the wood now? Oh, we must use the ring. Friend, I made a mistake. I may have made the mistake on purpose. I look down at my hand, eyeing the strange ring, and grip it, twisting it 3 times. There is a sudden flash of light and a puff of smoke, and when I look at the ring again, I find that the black gem has cracked down the center. Was it just a trick then? Why? I jump at the sound, which is closely followed by the beating of large wings overhead, cleaving through the swirls and eddies of mist. The form that follows is black as the gem that has cracked and lands lightly on the earth, preening glossy feathers before looking at me intelligently. A raven? Are you here to help me then? The raven chatters, tilting their head to and fro, then opens their beak and, to my great surprise, answers me in a rasping sing-song. Fleet of foot and swift of wing, I answered, twisting of the ring. Once you've called, at once I come. Tell me, human, what needs done? I've heard tales of ravens taught to mimic human speech, but never one that could speak in verse. The raven draws itself up in response to this, strutting back and forth before me, as if in a display of pride, chest puffed and dark eyes twinkling. You do seem extraordinarily clever. Can you help me to cross this wood, raven? It stands momentarily arrested, then turns, and the proud strut evolves into hopping gaily to the edge of the woods, scattering glittering dew from the grass as it passes, good-humoured and fey. For a long moment, the dark form stares into the wall of the trees, and then, upon coming to some sort of resolve, it lets out another round of raucous laughter, before merrily bouncing back to me. Nature shuns the clumsy axe, which slowly swings and slowly hacks. When a wood must be brought down, she rather burns it to the ground. Wait, bird, are you suggesting I burn the forest? Oh, I'm gonna become an arsonist. I stare down at the bird aghast. You want me to burn down the woods? The wings spread out in an almost human shrug, and the raven darts back up into the sky, laughing as it departs. I stare after it for a moment, dumbfounded, trying to figure out how I would even go about committing such an act. There was a flintlock pistol under the carriage seat, in case we met with trouble, if I could find it. I tremble at the idea of revisiting the carriage wreck, and particularly the unpleasant spirit that haunts it. But the idea of dying here, with the clearing of the mists, feels like the greater evil, and so I turn my feet back to the place I came. To my relief, my spouse seems content to remain an inert corpse this time, and I am able to unearth the flintlock without too much difficulty. I make my way to the forest wall, gathering together a nest of dried leaves and grasses, and try to recall the proper motions to set them alight. I feel like I'm about to, at the very least, anger the doe, but, I could potentially be murdering the herd right now, right? I mean, they're in the middle of the woods. Come on, come on! Abruptly, the tinder catches fire, unnaturally green, which spreads with preternatural speed through the grove before me. Oh! Though the flame catches, the burn proceeds apace as if along a prescribed pathway, flaming bright and engorged, with fuel on the low end, but leaving above only barren charred branches, reaching towards one another with gnarled twisted fingers. Oh, so the good news is it's only basically burning at our pathway, so I haven't just torched the entire acres. Still, in the wake of the scorching fire, there is an unmistakable blackened pathway through which it is possible for me to cross. This should serve, I suppose. Thank you, clever raven, for your advice. Among the rustling of branches and crackling of flame, I briefly am able to descry the hoarse cough of its laughter, and I follow it into the gloom. The second task, cross the air. Do you reckon I can burn down that tree and cross that? The pathway now cleared for me, I proceed into it, abyssal and constrained though it is. If this is the path I must cross to survive, then... A grouping of tiny fae folk of bright countenance and attire appear before me. Are you the one bid to cross this wood? Do I technically want to be telling you that? I'm not entirely sure. I've been told not to trust fae or pixies. I'm gonna say no. The pixies laugh like sleigh bells. Silly human, what a silly lie. We only mean to be friendly and asking. There is no other of your kind in this wood, so we know you for what you are. I shift uncomfortable, and immediately a half dozen of their band grasp at my sleeves, pulling me forward again. You should not fear us, no, no. You have come so far, but have too far to go. We know all pathways, all the roads, and that one does not lead to ease. I suppress the impulse to shake them off, instead observing the tiny creatures closely. They have no wings, yet seem able to traverse the air as easily as the ground. Each time they speak, it is in a small chorus, which I assume is because their individual voices would be imperceptible to me, standing so much larger in comparison. What do you mean? It does not lead to ease. The little figures pull at me with more ferocity than before, their voices taking on a coaxing tone. Come with us, come along. We are much kinder than the other one. With us, you may be lulled with song, and treats more decadent than any you know. Why brave the tasks ahead? Why should you struggle so? Come away, and turn your steps instead towards apple sweets and dances gay. A second path opens before us, this one littered with leaves of crimson and gold, and dappled with sunlight that breaks through the mist and shafts of shimmering warmth. I trust nothing about this. I feel like you've summoned a mirage or an illusion, and you're probably just leading me away to eat me. Will this take me to my destination? The little heads bob eagerly in unison. It is the shortest path to your journey's end by far more pleasant, and much less long. I have a feeling that's technically not a lie. It won't take me to my journey's end, it's just my journey's end is death. The not human said nothing to me of a possible shortcut when they assigned the tasks, but then they had no cause to mention it either, assuming the pixies are telling the truth. So what should I do? So I could basically insult the pixies, try and diplomatically get away, or agree. I kinda do want to see what the pixies are gonna do. Decide to see where the pixies lead me. I am so tired of fulfilling expectations and responsibilities I do not have any say in. You're right. I'll follow your shortcut then. They laugh and gambol joyfully in reply, tugging me forward down the new path, and I no longer resist their pull. As I walk, they break apart into groups around me, some singing, others playing on minuscule pipes and drums. Rows of pixies line my shoulders, feet, kicking with delight, the sensation no more than a flutter. A small figure even sits atop my head, holding a leaf out aloft to shade my eyes from the sun that pierces the mist. With every bend in the path, their number grows, dancing in a round before me, weaving leaves together as they go until a pair lift up the crimson circlet and place it on my brow. After travelling in this way for some time, I feel myself flagging and wonder how long the first path must be, if this is a shortcut. I glance anxiously at the mist, which seems to have surrendered more and more of its territory to the sunlight. Is it very much further? I admit I'm feeling a little tired, and am afraid that I may not make it in time. Rest, then rest. 'Tis just ahead the path shall end. You need not rush, but rest in comfort. As if they'd been waiting only for the opportunity, a number of the pixies set about forming a seat before me, fashioned from a smooth stone and a cushion of leaves and moss. I gratefully settle on it, stretching my legs before me, and another cluster appears, their arms laden with delicacies, ruby raspberries and golden gooseberries, tart and sweet as first love, and then blushing apples and nuts draped in honey, and clear spring water in a small cup of wood that never seems to run empty. The treasures they bring are so rich in taste, each more perfect than the last in form and flavor. They must surely be enchanted. Soon I find myself as full and satisfied as if I had sat at a table spread with a full feast. Instead of dining only a handful of nuts and fruit, my eyelids feel weighted, and I struggle to stay awake. I'm definitely going to be on the menu. As if sensing this, the pixies on my shoulders speak up, the small voices gentle as a lullaby. Rest well, rest well. 'Tis just ahead the path shall end. You need not rush to meet it. Rest in comfort here. You've only a little more to go. Though I am growing anxious to finish my journey, I am already nodding off, and so give in, settling back upon the leaves in a beam of sunlight and warmth. Just for a moment, and then I will see the path to its end. I feel like we've already just done that. The warmth is gone. Everything is cold. Pain washes over me, and it recedes again in swift, violent waves, and each breath is a hard-fought battle. With great effort, I pry open my eye, and my blurred vision settles on the upturned wreck of the carriage. Oh no! But where were the pixies? Was it nothing more than a dream? That I was near my journey's end? Then I realize that whether I have been tormented by pixies or only by the fancies of a dying mind, this sunken forest glade is my journey's end. Whether I have walked the wood and conversed with strange creatures and returned, or whether I never left this spot at all, it does not change the fate written in my blood, garish red against the green and brown of the earth. The labor of breathing has ceased entirely now. No more words will ever form on my lips and tongue, and never will I walk the woods again, alone or with others. In the stillness, I can hear the sluggish pulse of my own blood, my heartbeat a low percussion, like a fading summer rain, growing ever more faint. My sight is gone, but finally, I can see death for myself, both grotesque and beautiful. One icy hand moves to reach for me, and then there is truly nothing. I knew those pixies should not be trusted, so the only logical thing to do is to insult by them brushing them aside and keep walking. This is an obvious trap. I shake the pixies from my sleeves, as if they were dust, sending them cartwheeling through the air. Those who were not hanging on me begin to shout in an incoherent, reedy chorus, and before they can retaliate, I turn back to the woodland path and run. The mist begins to gather more nearly as I walk on, even as the trees crowd less closely. "What's your step, human?" The voice is a smooth one, if thin, and scarcely louder than that of the pixies. I stop, looking around myself to try and identify the speaker. Then the fog shifts again at my feet, and to my dismay, I find that I am standing no more than a step away from the edge of a cliff. Well, that could have ended badly. I tumble backwards perceptuously, and then clouding mist breaks enough for me to realize I'm at the top of a chasm, its depth impossible to guess in the fog. "Thank you for saving me." "It seems a wasteful death, and I am up here, above you." Tilting my head back, I see the reaching branches of a towering dead tree, warped and tilting part way out of the earth. Several of the larger limbs already collapsed around it, in a display of ongoing rot and decay. Wait, are you going to be attached to like spiderweb or something? The tree? No, there! Barely visible, I identify a dark speck suspended in the air between two of the remaining branches. Oh, so it's partially cracked. So not necessarily attached to the spiderweb, just the creator of it. You're a spider. The thin voice becomes sharp with impatience. Yes, though I am also far, far more than that. Do you greet other humans as you have greeted me, human? Well, generally speaking, I don't really need to ask them if they're spiders, so, no. I pause. No, I most often greet others by name. What is your name, then? Just because you are willing to surrender yours to the other one, do not think I shall so readily offer you mine. It is not a matter of what one is called, but how. And you addressed me as a human addresses a spider, something you perceive as small and lesser. It is a terribly off-putting attitude to take, given that I have just spared you a useless death. I am very sorry, Spider. I do not mean to be disrespectful. Is there a title you prefer to go by? The spider considered this a long moment. Spider will do, though I am not averse to compliments either. I take this in stride. Generous spider, can you tell me if there's any way to cross this chasm? This form of address seemed to please her, and she lowers herself from the heights of the dead tree, the silver strand of her thread glinting moodily in the uncertain light. I reckon she could, spin me a bridge. I mean, it might be strong enough. Much approved. And I can, though it would be a better question to ask if I shall. I bring myself a little nearer, reflecting that a lifetime of work and often humiliating service to others has left me surprisingly well prepared for this exchange. Lovely, kind spider, are you willing to help me, unworthy as I am? To my alarm, she draws upwards again, as if to leave. I said I like to receive praise for myself, not self-abasement from you. It does not further compliment me to make yourself pathetic, for if you are small and I am large, you can be of no use to me at all. Shame plucks at my heart, heat rushing to my neck and cheeks in a wash. Yet, I've known so many who would raise themselves by the grinding down of others. Though, perhaps spiders are more discerning in their preferred form of flattery than people are. Either that, or the spider just realizes if I can't offer the spider anything, why would the praise matter to it? In either case, I must smooth this over. You're small and I am large, but you are not useless in my eyes at all, wise spider. She lowers on her thread once more. I was speaking figuratively, human. But if you will cease insulting yourself, when you ought instead to compliment me. I may be persuaded to help you. If you would advise me, thoughtful spider, I would appreciate it. I have made it this far, but I do not see a clear way forward. She drops down farther still, now hanging level with my eyes, twisting gently on her thread in the wind, the mist catching on it and studying it with sparkling points of dew. For a human, you learn quickly enough, I suppose. I shall advise you how to cross the chasm. However, it will be for you to decide how to go about it. I listen carefully, tilting forward to catch her voice. There are 2 herbs which grow close by, each with a different magical effect. When consumed, one enlarges, the other will shrink. The effects are temporary and last but a short while. Still, it would be long enough that were you and I the same size. I could weave for you a sail, much like my young ones have, to catch the wind and ferry them on new territories. If we are the same size, you would do this then. I cannot do it while I am small and you are large, human. Either I must grow in size, or you must shrink. There is no other way of going about it. That feels like a lie. I feel like I could utilize my ability of fire and just knock the tree down. That should allow us to cross it, right? It seems tall enough, if a little bit unstable. An uneasy feeling settles in my stomach, but I do not see a ready alternative. Knowledgeable spider, can I not simply turn myself into a giant and step over the chasm? The dew is shaken from the strand of her web with the force of her laughter. Certainly, if you have time enough to travel all through the woods, collecting a great deal, and then spend another week consuming all you have gathered. I found at this. Why is that? Learned spider. Why should it work on you but not on me? She twitches on her strand testily. Truly humans have heads, only for decoration. Would clothes of yours become me equally well, or my silks fit to you? The herb which would make you small is by far more potent than that which would make you a colossus. It would increase my size to match yours, only because I am so much tinier to begin with, and a small amount of the herb, for you, is for me a great amount. I weigh asking the question that weighs most heavily in my mind, and finally decide to give it a voice. Good and gentle spider, if we are made the same size, what would keep you from eating me instead of aiding me? Nothing. It is, after all, my nature. But you have no other choice, do you? Then the easy feeling curdles into outright dread. I don't know, cunning spider. Perhaps. Where can these herbs be found? She sways happily on her silk, her many legs drumming the air with glee. Not far for you at all. Just a short walk back the way you came. You mean back towards the pixies? Oh, I feel like they're mad at me. If you look on the left-hand side, you will eventually spy a clump of green, spiked brambles with reddish fruit. Do not eat the fruit, but bring the leaves, and that shall make me grow. Some little bit further on the right, you shall find a bushel of golden mushrooms. Break them off, and bring instead the bark they have formed upon. That will make you small. Thank you. I shall go look. I turn the puzzle over my head as I search for the assigned herbs. Too soon, I find the spiked green brambles, studded with wine dark reddish fruit. I'm curious. I think we should take the fruit. How can I stop her from eating me once we are of a size? There must be some way, or is there some other means of crossing? I am no closer to finding the answer when I spot the golden mushrooms. Collect the mushrooms. Still unsure of the best course, I return to the precipice with the assigned items. Let's make the spider mad, shall we? I find the spider has been busy in my absence, herself. Instead of spinning on a single strand at the mercy of the wind, she has tethered it to the trunk of the tree, the ground, and her branch, and is now employed with weaving lovely patterns in the air, her silk so fine that it seems to wing in and out of being on a whim. You have returned. Are you now ready to proceed? I hold the herb before me, looking down with a knit brow, and trying to determine what course would be best. My thoughts are interrupted by the indignant squeak. I told you quite clearly which parts were needed, and yet you bring to me the very portion I said not to. Her web trembles with the force of her indignation. I recant my earlier commendation of you learning quickly, for you listen not at all. Never mind, you are not even worth eating, and I ought to have let you die a wasteful death from the start. She abandons her new web, absconding back to her first, and though I beg and plead, she no longer answers me with anything but silence. What can I do now? Spin our ring. I think I made the spider mad. I wonder if there's a wrong answer then, like shrinking or growing. I look down at my hand, eyeing the strange ring and grip it, twisting it 3 times. There is a sudden flash of light and a puff of smoke, and then I look at the ring again. I find that the gem as pale as starlight has cracked down the center. Ho ho ho! I whirl upon the call as pale wings cut silently through the pale fog, a heart-shaped face at the fore. An owl! The owl settles on my arm, fierce talons cutting into my skin with searing pain. The sharp beak opens, and to my shock, words spill out in hissing, rasping verse. Fleet of foot and swift of wing, I answer twisting of the ring. Twice you call, and once I come. Tell me, human, what needs done? I blink at the owl, and it blinks back, black eyes calling to mind the not human. I need to cross this chasm. How can I accomplish that? The talons release my arm, leaving stripes of blood in their wake, and the owl ascends noiselessly to one of the branches of the dead tree, head turning back and forth as if listening to some other callings, before refocusing on me with a fixed and disconcerting stare. For this task you must have some solid thing the air to pave. This tree once stood proud and tall, and a bridge could make, should it ever fall. You see, this was my idea. I knew the tree would be useful. You're saying I should fell the tree, but doesn't the spider live? The owl's head swivels away again, and it takes wing once more, crossing the chasm with ease. I heave a deep sigh, glancing back at the rotting snag, and then the chasm. A new home is found much faster than a new life. I look over the dead tree once more, eyeing the web far above me. I suppose I cannot help my nature either. If I must choose, I want to live. I walk to where the gnarled roots of the tree are already reaching the earth, blindly reaching outward like grasping hands, and I begin to push at them, listening to the sound of the wood straining and cracking with effort as more roots are brutally ripped from the soil in which they once burrowed. All the while, the spider unbraids me, but I ignore her chiding and focus instead on my task. With a great echoing snap, the dead tree finally breaks, the tallest of its branches just barely crossing beyond the width of the crevice. I only hope it holds. Stepping gingerly onto it, I begin to cross, freezing with each creak and sigh of the wood, each shift it takes as I tread upon it. I say at this point, we run as fast as we can. Maybe we can just outrun it breaking on us. The trunk narrows, and narrows again, and narrows further still, until I am only able to proceed by placing one foot directly in front of the other. arms outstretched in desperate bid for balance. I am nearly to the end of this makeshift bridge when I feel it start to collapse underfoot, and I am forced to make a desperate leap towards the other side, landing hard against the lip of the chasm and scrapping to drag my heavy body over it to solid ground. To my surprise, a length of the longest branch remains upon this side, snapped just below the spider's web. And serves you right if you had fallen with it, you brutish, selfish human. But I suppose such is your nature after all. Am I going to get to the end of these tasks and not be allowed to stay because I've become selfish instead of sacrifice? For a time, I can only lie on my back, panting and waiting for my heartbeat to slow. Next time, can you maybe just fly me over, owl? That would be a much greater help. The owl, however, is gone and does not answer. The third task, cross the water. At length, I move from the edge of the chasm, pulling myself along the earth with effort before rising once more to my feet. That's now 2 of the tasks I have accomplished. I have crossed the wood and crossed the air. Next comes... Listening closely, I hear the gentle lapping of waves upon the shore, and spy the glittering water ahead, wreathed in fog. Crossing water, and I cannot swim. That does complicate matters a little bit. Arriving at the rough pebbled shore, I squint into the furling mist. Briefly I spot a verdant isle in the center of the lake, bright as an emerald, before being veiled once more, and which seems likely to be my intended destination. A face breaks through the dark mirrored surface of the lake, and a beautiful and distinctly inhuman gaze fixes on me curiously. Oh, hi! Are you gonna end up being like a siren or something? Probably want to drag me down underwater. Oh, Mirror Man! What are you? His voice is supple and appealing, suggestive of pleasant company and abundant charm, and seems to emerge almost from the water itself. I'm a person, a human. 2 separate sets of lids flicker across the shimmering golden eyes. That explains it. I thought you were an extraordinary looking sort of animal. I have never before met one of your kind. A person, a human. Welcome to my home. Thank you, Sir Merrow. I appreciate your hospitality very much. I do not add that I am unsure whether or not to trust it, given my experiences along this journey. The Merrow Man laughs in a silver ridge of foam. He dips below the surface, popping up again a little closer to the shore where I stand. His skin glitters iridescent where the light catches it, and his voice turns honeyed and coaxing. Okay, there's one thing I've learned from any horror game that includes mer people, is that you can't trust them. They are there to kill you. Won't you come play with me? A person, a human. Though I feel the pull of his loneliness and longing, I shake my head firmly. No, I am sorry. I have an appointment I must keep. The face lowers into the water, and he blows bubbles petulantly before speaking again. Why must you keep it? What appointment must you keep? I point out over the lake, though I cannot see the island through the fog. I must cross this water and reach that isle in the center. The round eyes shine, widening further still. Oh, is it the other one you seek? I'm looking for the not human, yes. His voice becomes a wail of a frightened child. But I like you, a person, a human, and the other gives no one back that lands upon that isle. The desire to give in buffets me around, pulling at my heartstrings, whispering through my mind. I bite down hard on my lip and try to redirect my thoughts to the stinging pain instead. After a short while, the emotional gale lightens and then falls away. The Merrow Man sighs in a succession of spreading ripples. the merman can affect emotions. Because why else would my desire to be friends and join him be so intense? It seems you're resolved all the same, and your kind, as cruel as they are strange. What is it you wish? Shall I carry you hence? Seems like a bad idea to me, so we're gonna do it. Let the merman take me to the aisle. My shoulders sag with gratitude and relief. I would very much appreciate your help in conveying me there, yes. I wade out into the water, picking my way carefully past the reeds and over the slick stones. The merman vanishes once more, rising immediately beside me. He grasps me by the waist with cold webbed hands, and with surprising strength, then tucks me beneath one scheduled arm, and dives deep beneath the lake's surface. I know of all sorts of wonders here, shining stones and ancient bones, and which fish are the sweetest. Despite being fully submerged, his voice still rings as clear as before, radiant now with triumph and delight. I struggle in his grip, but the vice-like hold prevents the least movement from my arms, and all I can do is thrash my legs uselessly as they tangle in the pondweed which we pass. I know all who dwell here too, and I am tired of all I know. But you must know so many new things, strange creature that you are. Tell me your odd tales, and I shall sing my own to you in turn, and you may stay long as you please. Does anyone want to tell the merman that I'm about to drown in like a minute? What little air I had gasped in surprise before is rapidly running out, and I give up the effort of kicking, twisting my head in an attempt to look at him, but the water is too dark to see through, or my vision now too clouded. And if you still insist on being taken to the other after seeing all that I can share instead, I shall take you then, but not before. I can no longer hold my breath, and I inhale water, which rushes into my chest with searing pain, as if it were boiling. I cannot cough to expel it, the futile attempt only serving to fill me with more of the burning water. The merman's voice reaches through my panic, heavy with concern. We are not even a quarter of the way into the lake, and already you are dying. I make no answer, now overcome with drowsiness, and recognizing the icy presence of death. Alas, it is a pity you shall join my collection of dead things instead of living ones. I hoped you were made of sturdier stuff. The merman's words reach me only with a dim, flickering final awareness, and then death snuffs it out, and there is truly nothing. Well, what did I tell us? Merman, blooming dangerous. We're gonna decline and seek a different route. Charming and friendly though the merman is, I hold little doubt that accepting even his offer of aid would see me quickly drowned instead. I am very grateful for your kind offer of help, but I must decline that too. The hypnotic eyes flash with disappointment, and his tail rises out of the water, and then viciously slaps down upon it again, sending out a rolling wave, which crashes upon the shore and laps at my feet. I brace myself for another psychic sage, but biting down once more on my still smarting lip. But I want to keep you for myself, a personal human. I could show you such wonders. I fall a step further away from the water, and he turns his back to me, swimming farther out and calling back from within the mists. Well, if your kind is so cruel and obstinate, perhaps you would not suit me as a playmate after all. I wish you luck in crossing a person or human, and if you fail, well, perhaps it will not be too late to change your mind, if you beg sweetly enough. I wait until I am quite sure he is not going to return, then seat myself along the grasses, trying to determine my next course as the lake gently laps at my feet. If I can cross the wood and cross the air, I must also be capable of crossing the water. I only want for... Pardon me, mortal. Might I ask for your aid? My surprise is being undressed almost causes me to fall into the lake, and I whirl, looking around for the new speaker as I scramble back to my feet. What the hell are you? Is it just me or you kinda look like a Pokemon? Kinda cool though. You do seem a little bit sparky. Are you sure you should be close to the water? I am startled to find an unnatural ball of fire and lightning has formed immediately beside me, crackling and reeking strongly of sulfur. Ah! The orb dances before me in apparent supplication, dimming and flickering pitifully in response to my alarm. No, I mean you no harm. It is only that I do not know how to make my presence known beyond light. And sometimes I cannot be seen if you do not look for me first. Other times I cannot be seen if you look, but I never know myself which shall be. It is terribly inconvenient. Feeling embarrassed by my earlier fear, I straighten again, descrying amongst the flames and small bolts of electricity something like a face, scrunched and apologetic. Wait, so aren't wisps also supposed to be quite mischievous? I mean, are you gonna lead me to my death? I mean, the merman did just try to do that. I would rather inhabit a more consistent form, and it is for this reason I beg your aid. You can't have my body. I am unwilling to surrender my own form to you, if that is what you are asking. The wisp flares and sparks, turning first pale as the light of the winter dawn, and then crimson as the summer sunset. Not at all. You already inhabit your form, which makes it far too crowded for me to possess in comfort. Rather, I would have your help in constructing a form of my own, being as you are a living thing, and better understand such matters. The warped and shifting visage contorts and twists hopefully, the fire guttering down to a wan yellow, the burning scent so like rotting eggs, now worse than ever. I mean, it's probably a good idea if I help you, right? But I'm going for a complete ring run, so I'm gonna say I'm sorry, I do not have time to help you. The wisp begins to flicker, sparks flying outwards erratically. Ah, you have your own troubles, I am sure. No matter, I have lived centuries as I am, so I'm resigned to my fate. Perhaps the next mortal I encounter will prove more compassionate. Before I can make any answer, it vanishes from sight altogether. Yep, I've just doomed myself. I wait by the shore, watching as the surface of the water burrows and smooths, now showing grey as the mist, and then again green as glass. Now it glitters in the light, and then again it is dark and fathomless. It offers me no solution for what I lack, nor does any help arrive from the chill autumn sky. I trust to still be somewhere far above the fog. The ring is our last chance. I'm definitely gonna get punished for using all 3 gems, aren't I? I am so close. I cannot give up now. I take the ring between my fingers, twisting it 3 times. There is a responding burst of light and a puff of smoke, and when I look down at the ring again, the gem which glows warm in the sun now has a crack running across its face. What? Oh! I mean, I'm not entirely sure how helpful you're going to be in crossing some water, but you are adorable. A flash of crimson weaves along the rocky path, now seen, now hidden again, and finally settling politely at my feet, looking at my face with a smile as enigmatic as the not human's own. You're a fox! Sharp white teeth flash, and a chittering, cackling chorus of words follow, Fleet of foot and swift of wing, I answer, twisting of the ring. Thrice you've called, at once I come. Tell me, human, what needs done? Can you help me to cross this water? The fox rotates his head back and forth, staring up at me with the same wide smile. I stare down at it, waiting for a response, and when none comes, I rephrase the question. I must cross this water to get to the island in the center. What do I need in order to do that? This seems to clarify matters, because it briefly examines the shore with intelligent eyes, and more words follow. You need 3 things and none possess, but one alone can I suggest. Among the reeds there live a wisp, and snared that light you through the mist. I stare at the fox in horror. That doesn't seem especially nice. The fox cocks its head, as if waiting for my command. With a heavy heart I nod. All right, but how can I? The fox bounds away, returning swiftly with a stout branch in its mouth. As it seems expected of me, I take it in hand, and the fox now jumps in and among the reeds on the water's edge, splashing and letting out the occasional joyous yip. Am I meant to throw this for you to fetch us? What? It continues to hop around the water's edge, disregarding me, until a series of insistent successive barks draw my attention again, and the wisp I had earlier dismissed is flushed out from its hiding place.
What is the meaning of this intrusion? Oh, mortal, have you changed your mind? Will you now help me?
I hesitate, looking at the fox, who in turn stares fixedly at first at the stick it gave me, then again at the wisp. Oh, The fox nudges the hand wielding the stick impatiently, and screwing my eyes shut tightly, I raise it up, then bring it down upon the wisp with all my strength. There is no sound, no exclamation of pain or terror, only the near silence of the lake and the wisp's continued crackling fire. Did it not do any harm to the wisp? But slowly, I pry my eyes open again, and find that where once there was a wisp, struck unawares with a cudgel, I am now holding nothing but an ordinary torch, which I stake into the loose soil and rocks on the shore. Searching for the fox, I find that it too has vanished, leaving me alone once more. Ah, did I technically just murder the wisp? I mean, it lives on, right, in the torch? I technically gave it a new form. The water is still and reflective as a mirror, mist drifting from it upwards like steam from a kettle. I search the shore, squinting into the fog and the shadows, scattering crabs between the rocks and kicking up a shower of pebbles into the air, yet I remain alone. I cannot cross, and I cannot find anything else to do. I still need help, so I must call for it. You fox, you are not especially helpful right now. You cannot leave until I am crossed. Is this gonna work? 'Cause I have no more gems. I take the ring between my fingers once more, first staring down at the 3 cracked gems, and then firmly twisting it 3 times. This time, however, there is no answering burst of light, nor smoke, no unblemished gem face, left to crack from side to side. Twisting it again to be sure, I find the ring is loose upon my finger, growing looser with each subsequent turn until finally it drops from my hand altogether and opens wide in a glowing pit at my feet. As I consider what to do next, the mists around me begin to thin, following the light into the round portal. I am until the clearing of the mists. Trusting in the magic of the ring to save me, I jump feet first into the silver shining round. Warmth and cold are both gone. There is only nothing. Pain washes over me and recedes again in swift, violent waves, and each breath is a hard-fought battle. With great effort, I pry open one eye, and my blurred vision settles on the upturned wreck of the carriage, Oh no! But where is the island? Was it nothing more than a dream that I was near my journey's end? Then I realized that whether I have been taunted by the not human or only by the fancies of a dying mind, this sunken forest glade is my journey's end. Whether I have walked the wood and conversed with strange creatures and returned, or whether I never left this spot at all, it does not change the fate written in my blood, garish red against the green and brown of the earth. You said you'd help! I cannot discern any longer if the words are internal or not, but a gentle voice still answers. And help I did, many, many times. But I warned you from the start that my kind are selfish and do nothing without exacting some price in turn. You asked for too much, and the cost is now too dear. I wet my lips, struggling to object, but the labor of breathing has ceased entirely now. No more words will ever form on my lips and tongue, and never will I walk the woods again, alone or with others. My eyes are pressed closed by a hand that burns through the nothing I feel. Goodbye, Meek. Once my own little sacrifice, and now belonging to death again instead. I wish you had proven yourself less disappointing, but I forgive you all the same, as it was my error to hope for anything more of your kind. You are mortal as mortals come, and now shall die as mortals must. In the stillness, I can hear the sluggish pulse of my own blood, my heartbeat a low percussion like a fading summer rain, growing ever more faint. My sight is gone, but finally I can see death for myself, both grotesque and beautiful. Once icy hand moves to reach for me, and then there is truly nothing. Well, I had fun doing my complete failure then. So I think this time, how about I go for complete success so we try and avoid using the ring whatsoever? So clearly the answer is acorn. An acorn? Quite good. Then I should give you my word. Wonderful. And I will also give you my name. Your name. She applauds me lightly, and then the herd bow their heads as one. Unexpected to find a wise human. So few of your kind are not fools. I'm grateful to your help, Your Majesty. She gives me a thin smile. I am glad to find I have not wasted my time upon you. Now the answer to your question is a simple one. Anything at all which belongs to the woodsman may serve for a head, if it is fashioned with eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. But it must belong to him, and not to my wood. You understand? I will give him nothing that is my own. I understand. But what would count as his then? She shrugs. Anything he planted or fashioned for himself. More I shall not say. I am being quite generous enough, given my history with him, and lack of history with you. I bow my head, feeling difference will better suit me than insistence at this point. Thank you, Your Majesty. We shall tarry here only a short time longer, until the clover is cropped close. Hurry and find the woodsman a new head, if you wish to. I will not be here if you return too late, and you have too little magic to give life to a new head on your own. Nodding, I bow my head once more, then turn towards the hut. The building is in even worse repair than I observed at a distance. Windows broken and thatched roof pitted and full of holes. Hello? Steeling myself, I knock at the door, then lift the latch, peering into the gloom with trepidation. Nothing moves. Turning back, I wander into the overgrown garden. Where can he be? Though it feels useless without the body, it should adorn. I begin searching for a potential head. I feel like we can't go to the edge of the woods, because she did just say nothing from her territory. I really want to check for a pumpkin. So check the overgrown garden. There is a pumpkin! What should I pick? It's always going to be the pumpkin. It has to be. She said something he would have planted himself. Surely pumpkins aren't native to the wood. I select the roundest, most robust specimen of the group. The woodsman would have to be a pumpkinhead to try and capture Her Majesty. She'll like this, I think. The stalk bites painfully into my palm, with tiny thorns, but after bending it back and forth many times over, I am eventually able to dislodge it. The rigid orange face stared back at me, begging for expression. I say proceed. I place my hands on the vegetable confidently. Something he planted himself. Ah! Oh! There's your body. How you doing? Oh, you're growing mushrooms, it seems. I drop the would-be head in starting horror, and what I originally mistook for a mass of rubbish and rags mounted against the hut rises precipitously, taking the clear form of a man without any head at all. Hello, Mr. Woodsman. Bending at the waist, the figure sweeps outstretched arms back and forth along the earth until eventually one questing hand brushes the edge of the pumpkin. Grasping it carefully, he lifts it up, straightening back to an overwhelming height and offering it to me wordlessly. Little surprised that he is speechless, he is also entirely without a head. You want... The headless form makes no further movement, only continues to offer its head in silent supplication. Hesitantly, I accept it. Of course, you cannot hear. Then, shall I carve you ears first? Seating myself on a worn wooden stool, I attempt to cover up my discomfort with a barrage of friendly chatter as I use a rusted nail to first carve sickles in the vague form of ears, then rough holes for eyes, slits for a nose, and a sweeping upward-facing crescent which serves for a mouth. There we are. Let us hurry back to Her Majesty, lest the herd leave before us. I tuck the head under an elbow, turning back towards where the deer were last grazing. Before I can move, however, the shambling figure once more extends his arms outward in a sweeping motion, and before I can realize what he is about, one rough and heavily calloused hand has seized on my wrist and will not release it, though I instinctively try to shake myself free. Please, can you... The grip does not loosen, but the woodman makes no further move, standing still as if carved from stone. As the first blush of panic passes, reason dawns on me for his unexpected seizure of my person. Right, I guess you can just follow my lead that way. Then, I'll try to take it slowly. I begin to pick my way back to the herd, and the woodsman trails a step or two behind, latched to my wrist like an overlarge frightened child. I do my best to disregard him. I did not say you should bring him along with you, human. I halt, doggedly prying at the clenched fingers on my wrist, and when this fails, bringing one foot down hard on the woodsman's instep. Finally, the manacled grip loosens enough for me to break away, and I quickly skip while out of reach. The minor tussle, at least, has the positive effect of returning the dear woman's expression to one of patient amusement, rather than the cold disdain we were met with. I'm very sorry, Your Majesty. I did not think that you would breathe life into the head without also being able to, attach it to... I gestured comprehensively at the fumbling form. She smiles coldly. My power is such that I can easily manage to give new life to this head, even were the rest of him as far away as the world's end. I turn over the pumpkin in my hands, suppressing a violent shudder as best I can. I do not mean to doubt your ability to do anything you please, Your Majesty. Rather, I doubt my own ability to carry a living head in my hands and be charged with the act of reattaching it myself. The smile thaws and she steps forward, taken the crudely carved form from me. I spend so little time around you humans. I forget how strangely delicate your sensibilities can be. You wage your wars, you destroy one another, and all manner of other creatures. You pilfer from the earth whatever your hands can touch. Yet, you tremble and sigh when confronted with anything the least bit extraordinary, in your view, even when it possesses no threat. It is almost charming. She tips her head, as if trying to make sense of the workings within my own, then, with the flick of an ear, dismisses humankind once more. Close your eyes, then, if you do not wish to be frightened, for what I am to do will surely frighten a human to death, silly as you are, and your life hangs but tenaciously even now. She waits, watching me, and so I close my eyes as instructed. The magic forms first in a sense of gathering quiet and warm, hypnotic and comforting, then a building pressure, and it cackles in my ears, and constrains me. Just as I begin to fear I will be crushed, the pressure breaks in a shattering, blinding burst of light, rushing cold and howling sound. The shift is so violent that even with my eyes squeezed shut and hands clapped over my ears, I am driven forcibly to my knees, and realize that I am howling and sobbing together, screaming until my throat is left dry and raw. Terrific yearning for the initial quiet and warmth is a physical pain that lacerates each of my senses in turn, ricocheting through my body and tearing my mind to pieces. When I wake, I find myself slumped on the forest floor once again. Oh, but he's alive! Oh, we even gave him teeth. How adorable. Opening my eyes, my vision is filled with a pumpkin, its expression somehow conveying deep concern, despite the crudely formed lineaments. Oh, you live, after all. Pushing myself to a sitting position, I shake my head, trying to clear it of the lingering threads of her magic. I think I do. I congratulate you. Many do not survive the magic that confers life. It is a tricky business, for the great author of such matters yearns for balance. A life for a life. I gave my life away once already. The words are muttered, but she nods sagely in response. And you have been gifted it again, though whether or not you keep it, only the mist shall know. My herd will now move on, human. I hope this fool, whose savior you are, aids you in turn, for the sake of my wood, if nothing else. To my surprise, the woodsman, fitted with a new head on his shoulders and no longer hovering over me, turns to the dear woman and lowers himself before her on hands and knees, his odd head almost touching the ground at her feet. I am entirely sorry, my queen. Never again will you be importuned by my overambitious desires. I hereby rededicate my life in your service, and assure you that the wood shall flourish and the pathways will ever lead to those glades which are most lush. His voice is guttural and hollow as might be expected to emit from such a source, but the words are rife with earnest feeling. She sighs, but her frosty expression shows no sign of melting. Get up, fool, and see that you keep your word this time. Not for several centuries more am I likely to forgive you, but for now, I shall tolerate your presence in my wood, so long as you do not cause me any further inconvenience. Now, go about your work, and be grateful you are at least useful, even if no amount of reflection can make you wise. He bends his head to the earth once more, then rises to execute a surprisingly graceful bow in my direction. Human, as it is you who has secured for me this opportunity to make amends for past wrongs, I shall clear a path through the wood for you as you seek. I am grateful for your determination and compassion, both in service to Her Majesty's needs, as well as my own. We could not else have found a resolution and moved forward. My offense was too deep, and her anger too great. The dear woman snorts contemptuously, and still turns, nodding my direction.
You, at least, have done well. I wish you luck in your journey, and I hope you shall live to see another sunrise.
Thank you for your generosity, Your Majesty. She smiles again, clearly pleased by my deference.
Tarry a moment longer, human. As you have proven yourself wise, I am willing to impart a small bit of advice beyond our original bargain.
She gestures me nearer, and I approach her, instinctively kneeling when I am close enough to feel the overpowering weight of her magic, rolling off her form like lapping waves. She tilts forward, bringing her lips close enough to my ear to feel the air burn and blister with the intensity of her nearness.
Do not trust any path but the one laid out clearly at your feet. These woods are home to not only my people, but also pixies. They ought to be handled with respect, but by no means should you give them your ear, or you too will lose your head.
She pulls back, her eyes narrow and serious, then waves her hand as if to release me from her oppressive presence.
I have done what I can for you, human. Now I will ask that you leave this wood, and I hope you shall never return to it again.
With a final regal glance, she turns away, and the herd fall in line behind her, moving forward through the clearing as one. To my great surprise, I find that as they move on, a gap is revealed in the wall of the forest. The woodsman works quickly, it would seem. Listening closely, I can hear the distant thumping strike of his axe, and the rustle of trees, and the mists themselves feel lighter than they did. My blood runs cold as the thought repeats. The mists feel lighter than they did, and I have 2 more tasks that I must complete before the mists clear. Brushing myself off, I quickly step out of the glade and into the forest gloom. Okay, so the dear woman made sure to tell me to treat them politely, right? So I wonder if that changes our interaction. I dip my head in a quick bow, formulating my reply carefully. I am grateful for the kind and very generous offer, and I would like nothing more than to keep company with you. However, I think I must continue on the harder path after all. I have already completed the first of the 3 tasks. I have to believe myself capable of completing the remaining 2 before the mist clear as well. The pixies murmur amongst themselves, then release my sleeves, still full of restless motion, but their good cheer unimpaired.
We shall not stop you, no, not we. With regret we'll let you go, but since you are so nice to us, so nice and kind, we willingly part with this advice. When given 2 choices, which both seem bad, 2 more crop up just behind. But rather than take this one or take the other, you may take both or neither.
Wait, so are you saying with the spider, if we both consume the materials, I'll safely get across? Actually seems like a good idea, because if the spider grows and I shrink, I'm no longer a good meal for them, right? I nod again, committing their words carefully to memory. Nonsense though they seem. Thank you, and I wish you well in your revels. Merrily, the pixies wave me off, wending their way along the sunnier path, the piping chorus of their voices drifting back to me faintly.
Though you choose the longer path to meet your journey's end, still we hope you shall feel the time well till then.
Okay, so here's our option. So yeah, we've got give her the leaves. Oh, so yeah, I could do both. Yeah, because the leaves will help her grow, right? The bark will shrink her, and yeah, the leaves won't do anything to me. Oh, I could throw them both over the chasm's edge. I kind of want to do a good one. We'll come back and check on these other options. So, give her the leaves, then eat the bark myself. For a moment, I see her looming large and threatening in my vision, jaws clicking in anticipated pleasure, and ribboned with poison. But then, they continue to loom larger and larger still, the threat more and more abstract, the clacking jaws stilling as I step away from the drip of venom, even as I am then caught up in the massive silk in her web at my side. You! Her voice is a rumble of thunder, deafening and splitting the sky itself. Her laughter is not less so. You have tricked me. You, the human who chose to be so small. I told you before that if you are small and I large, I have no use for you. And now that it has come to pass, it is the case indeed. You are not worth the eating, being now less than a bite. So wise of you, so clever. The web shakes with her laughter, and I am shaken along with it. You have used my own words against me, and I am truly as generous as you said before, and kind and gentle too. Now that my nature is not stirred to see you as prey, my intention to help you remains unsullied, and I am very happy to help you continue in your quest. With a quick motion of her many legs, she severs my bonds one by one until only a single strand remains. It catches the wind, rising through the mist and rendering the spider smaller and smaller again in my view. Fare you well, human, and remember my words. That which is small is not the less mighty for it. When I speak, it is from the depth of my heart. Good spider, I will remember, and never more shall I shun your kind as pests, but instead know that despite the limit of nature, they have potential to be much more. I am now too far to hear her reply, but her waving arms convey her farewell and well wishes clearly, and I find that every compliment I offered her, however false at the time, I now believe in truth. The effects of the herd prove very limited, and I only barely arrive at the other side without growing my silk, colliding against the lip of the chasm, and scrabbling to drag my heavy body over it to solid ground. You know, the spider could have gave us like a throw or something. Running start. Okay then, the wisp is clearly our answer to get across this lake. So what is it that you want from me exactly? The light flares, sending skittering threads of lightning dancing up and down my arms, my hair rising in the charged air. Not so much want from you, but a great deal from me. Though I have collected many things which once held life, I cannot possess them without their carrying some organic form as well. I cannot myself see but spirits as I pass, and I do not know what a proper form ought to be. How is it that you can see me then? The light blinks at me puzzled. I can only see your spirit, but mortals are quite distinct to me, and carry a weight we others can only imagine. It is why you shine so bright in our eyes, and it is our reason for so dearly coveting that which you have as a birthright. That brilliance, that flaring light you shine, before being so quickly again snuffed out. Ah, who would not trade the dull years of eternity to know the force with which a mortal feels, the pain and sorrow, the bliss and joy? You have no idea what I look like then. The wisp laughs, an act expressed less in the sound than in the darting rays it sends out in random bursts. I know how your spirit appears. Why should your form matter? Are you your body, or are you yourself? You light up all this wood, yes, and shimmer like a beacon from here to the beyond. The vessel that holds you does not define you, it merely serves you. Else how could I see you at all? I consider this an unusual perspective, and find I approve of it. It is not the way we mortals perceive others, but I like your standards far better. Where is your collection? I will help you if I can. The wisp sends up more sparks, appearing like nothing so much as a firework display. Thank you, mortal. Thank you. For this service, I'll do you good in turn, if I can. I will lead you to my collection. Oh, but you've got some organic bits there. I like the skull. Here it is. All once living, but occupied no longer. If put together, will these not serve to make for a body my own? We could potentially make it work, maybe. A little bit. Okay, so slit the head. What would work for the head? I kind of want the ancient skull. I do like the ancient skull. Sure, why not? It's got teeth and everything. They'll say it's glorious. Then you kind of remind me of the dolphin from Burdock. What, Blood Orange? Yeah, that's the game. Wow, this looks like it was once the head of something at least. Select the torso. Could I do this wrong? I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean, driftwood maybe? Oh wait, crab carapaces. I'm not entirely sure what that is. Sure, we're gonna use it. Nope, not that. Oh, okay, so you'll actually tell me if it's wrong. So do you just want the driftwood? Nope, no you do not. The good news is I can't go wrong. Do you want the rotting log? Oh, you do. I guess that means the skull's correct then. Seems the closest to a body. Hopefully it won't fall apart too soon. Okay, arms. Arms, I'm thinking are gonna be animal bones, right? There we go. They look like arms. These are the closest to the right proportions, I think. I lay out the bones as evenly as I am able, and my eye catches on something. Are those bite marks? Ugh. Wait, hands. Hands are gonna be the crabs, right? Yes, they are. So you've got pincers and everything now. I am so kind to you. I look over the remaining broken legs of the crabs, and with a flash of ghoulish humor. With these for hands, the wisp will even have extra fingers to spare. Okay, legs. Gotta be the driftwood, right? Oh yeah, you're gonna be stunning. You are so beautiful. They do not quite line up properly, but as that is so far the least of my concerns with this body, I resign myself to the imperfection. Oh, well, sturdy as I can make them, I think, even if they aren't precisely symmetrical. And the last feet, you can have fish for feet. See, that kind of balances it out, right? You've got long leg, short leg, big fish, small fish. It's about even now. Feet are known to smell, though this seems a trifle excessive. My skin crawls upon contact with the cold scales, and I set them in place with electricity. I hope the wisp isn't fond of dancing. I've done the best I can with this. You are stunning. Do you want to be friends forever? The wisp hovers over the monstrous form I have shaped, and then in a flash of light vanishes, and the horrid assemblage rises from the shore, first standing on one arm and leg, and then the other, before properly sorting out top from bottom, ligaments of lighting, trying the alien pieces together. The horrifying figure shuffles to the edge of the water, looking down in its own reflection, before turning back to me. How splendid it is! How fine and lovely! I see you now, I do. It is true your form is nothing like this one, but I can tell from my superior proportions that you have made me more handsome, even than yourself. That is very true, you are glorious. I am thankful for your compassion, mortal. I stand your friend, and in your debt, you may ask of me a boon, and if it is in my power, I shall provide it. I turn this over in my head, unsure how the wisp might be of any help, but unwilling to turn away the offered aid either. I need to cross the water to the island in the middle of this lake. Do you know of any way I might do so? The awful head twists its wholly in the wrong direction and rotates back to me. I know the place you seek. I have nothing that will help you cross the water, but I can at least light your way through the mists. I mean, you're mostly driftwood, right? Can't I just float on you across the water? With a hissing, popping sound, the wisp conjures a small ball of light, which shines brightly through the gloom and mists. Here is a fraction of my spirit. Hang it before you, and it shall show your path to the isle. I accept the ball of light gingerly, and to my surprise, it does not burn, but only emits a pleasant warmth, if also accompanied by the distinct scent of sulphur. My debt is now paid. May you find your way clearly going forward, mortal. With this, the alarming form shuffles off into the woods and out of sight. I cradle the little light in my hands, looking back towards the water. The light shines out in a bright beam as I do, piercing through the mist and reaching to touch the green of the isle in the distance. Well, I can at least see my destination, even if I cannot reach it. I fall silent again, looking around me for anything that might serve as a raft, when I hear a skittering of many tiny legs, all rushing towards me. I turn in alarm, unsure where I can seek refuge from whatever is approaching, but before I can decide whether the greater threat lies within the water or out of it, I hear myself hailed by a familiar thin voice. There you are, human. I see that you have managed to survive. Small wonder, I suppose, since you were clever enough to escape me with your life intact. I endeavor to identify her in the sea of arachnids, which now surround me. Finally, my gaze lands on her familiar markings, and I bow respectfully. Hello, good-natured spider. What brings you here? I suppress the urge to sidle away from the churning swarm of spiders, which now seem to be spinning a dense web in unison. You do, human. The more I consider the matter, the more it seemed to me to be a disappointing, wasteful end. Were you to succeed in outwitting me, only to fail in a pathetic way thereafter? My pride smarts at the very thought. She stands apart from the rest of the horde, tapping angrily at any of the undulating mass that dares stray too close to her. We are by nature solitary, but I resolve to gather my children together and help you, if you still lived. I look down at her wonderingly. Generous spider, you are here to help me. How? She waves her legs at me impatiently. Do not make me regret it by asking the obvious, though we are too small to do so alone. In this number, we are capable of weaving a sail for you, though it still needs a vessel, which you seem to be lacking. Sweet spider, can't I ride the wind as I did before? Her voice turns sly. If you wish to make yourself small again, the wind might be able to carry you even that much greater distance. But you would do well to consider all your present company, both here and in the lake. It is a very imprecise mode of travel, after all. She heaves a tiny sigh. And there is still the matter of my pride. Well, you have used your wits to find a light to guide you at least, so I'm sure you will be able to figure out a vessel too. The swelling tide of small bodies recedes, revealing a sail of spider silk hanging suspended between the reeds. I am grateful behind words, kind spider. I will do my best not to die a senseless death and embarrass you. See that you avoid it, human. We shall depart now back to our respective corners. Fare you well. With the same rattling and scraping of legs, the spiders depart. What shall I do for a vessel then? I am alone for less than a minute before a heavy tread sounds behind me. Oh, is that my Peter? Who? Oh, woodsman! He emerges from the gloom, a pile of lumber slung over one broad shoulder. Her Majesty complained that I have now cluttered her wood with the trees I felled, and bid me make myself useful and tidy up. She suggested you might be in need of aid with your tasks, so I have built a bridge over the chasm for you. He seems to anticipate high praise for this act of generosity, however belated it may be. I swallow, pointing out that I have clearly crossed the chasm already, instead summoning a wan smile. I thank you for it very much, and should I ever need to make my way back across again, that will prove a great help, indeed. For now, though, it is the water I must cross. The crude carved eyes blink down at me, owlishly, then look up at the lake and the isle. I see. I do not have enough lumber to build you a bridge to the isle. I fear, and even if I did, I do not think the other would tolerate such an open thoroughfare connecting to their realm. They are not unlike Her Majesty in their particularities, and I have already lost one head. I do not desire to lose another. My shoulders slump with disappointment. That cannot be helped, I suppose. I would not want to lose my head either. The woodsman jerks forward, patting my shoulder in an almost human display of sympathy. There now, I dare say I could build you a raft, however. I see you have a fine sail already, and a light to guide your way. It would be enough to ferry you across to the place you seek, as the winds here are drawn toward where the magic is strongest. Before I can do more than lift my head in surprise, he has moved away, and is now busily lashing together the trees he has brought with him with bark, roots, and in places, scraps torn from the rags he is wearing. As before, the work is completed within an uncannily short time. Finally, he fits it with a short mast, the sail now billowing in the wind. There, I have helped you 3 times now, and also cleared away the wood as I was bid to. Perhaps my queen will be pleased with my work. Farewell, human. You know what? You're not so bad, Peter. He turns and shuffles back into the mists, heavy footfalls still echoing out over the lake. Though I cannot help regarding my makeshift craft with extreme skepticism, I place my little guiding lights upon the prow, all the same, pushing the raft into the water and leaping aboard. To my great relief, it moves steady and true, taking on enough water to damp my knees and feet, but thankfully not so much as to capsize. The light shines impossibly bright and reflects the green of the isle so strongly as to stain the surrounding atmosphere in the same disconcerting hue. Journey's end. The words are murmured, and I am caught off guard when a familiar voice answers through the mist. Indeed it is, my Meek, my very own little sacrifice. Oh, the fairy! My craft settles against the lush shore of the isle, and I disembark, my feet sinking into the soft mosses and golden leaves. I am almost alarmed by my pervasive sense of peace that radiates from my surroundings, feral and overgrown as they are. Welcome, my own Meek. You have finished your journey, and stand now at the gates of my kingdom. I am pleased you have succeeded in your tasks. I turn my face upwards, towards the resonant voice that sounds from somewhere high in the trees, and after some searching, find they're not human, their form draped negligently over a branch, like spreading lichen. No sooner do I meet their watchful gaze than they smile, dropping from their perch to land soundlessly upon the ground before me, verdant and charismatic, as when first I saw them in the clearing. I have done as you asked. I crossed the wood, I crossed the air, and now I have crossed the water. The green mouth works with pleasure in response to this, and they step nearer still, looking me up and down. So you have indeed, my Meek. So indeed you have, and in return, I shall now grant you your life. One green hand rises, stroking my brow where they had first traced the sigil. At their touch, I feel my skin prickle with an animal awareness of danger, but it passes almost as quickly, swallowed in a gentle wave of honeyed warmth and calm. It does not burn or sear like the heated strangeness of magic, but rather settles upon my skin like a well-worn cloak, something that is not other, but comforting and my own. My life is mine once more. In the past, I never recognized how precious it feels to own one's destiny and self. Although, is my destiny now truly my own? The not-human seems to read my defiance in my posture, raising long-fingered hands in a gesture of playful defense. Now, tell me your tales, or shall I tell them for you? I met the black eyes, deep as an eternity studded with stars, and the smiling mouth takes a whimsical tilt. You gave to me your name, my Meek, so allow me to sing your story. When first we met, you were near dead, and my magic spared. They shaped two faint figures from the mist which drift in the air between us. I gifted you your life, my Meek, and lent to you my bond. The mist circles the figures in a ring before contracting sharply and dissipating, revealing the real ring, and no longer upon my finger, but hanging suspended in the ether. The not-human plucks it from the air, playing with the ring as might a magician with a coin, gold flashing between their long fingers. Now for the tasks, let me see. They roll the ring onto one broad palm, brown knit as they examine it closely, as if scrying for answers. The gems wink in the light, all three now showing green as summer leaves. I cannot read the not-human's expression, the mist weaving around and between the golden horns and veiling their eyes. To cross the wood, the mist rises in spires behind them, like the dense glade where I first arrived. I laughed and laughed and laughed again at your act of substitution. You gave the woodsman his new head and the queen her restitution. The constellations in their pitch-black eyes burn unexpectedly warm, and they nod approvingly. And that's one you've proved diligent and resourceful. The phantom grove of trees falls away again to mist. Through the wood you made your way, the first task now complete. You did not stray from the past little sacrifice, despite the pixie's temptations. I commend you for it. I should have disliked rescinding my magic, after taking the trouble of saving you to begin with. A hand rests lightly upon my head, as if rewarding this choice with their benediction. And so you lived on to attempt the next task. The mist parts sharply to either side of the not-human. Her web alone is not the danger when a spider's in lair, and yet you showed your wits alert and escaped unensnared. They break into a wide smile, radiant enough to make the strands of mist glisten and shine like spun gold. And that's too, you are quick-witted and clever, my Meek. The not-human strokes my cheek, as if I were a cat. With this, the mist fall, now pooling at our ankles, and for the first time since entering the woods, I can see the glorious landscape around me, in full, towering mountains blanketed in red and gold trees, glaciers waters shimmering below the veil of fog that rides up upon it, like a stream swirling in a teacup. The not-human stands at the center of my vision, as if wrought from the earth itself, bound together with light and shadow. The air around them is perfumed with the scent of a forest in the rain, of growth and decay inextricably commingled. And their skin glows both the lush celadon of new life and the dull panetter of rot. Catching their gaze, I understand for the first time that such an immortal being does not live outside of life and death, but instead inhabits a primal intersection containing both together. 2 tasks complete, but with one left, the most difficult task among them. Easily you might have turned away from the wisp and their silly plight, but instead you offered them your aid and earned from them their light. The not-human leans in very close, inhaling the air at my side, as if sampling it. When they speak, the words ghost across my skin, raising the hair along my arms. And that's 3. You are compassionate and kind, precious Meek, my sweet little sacrifice. To my surprise, the long arms enwrap me in a firm embrace, as though a tree has grown around me, entwined with the contours of my form and unyielding. I desired you for my own, my Meek. You are resourceful and clever, and compassionate, where my own kind is inflexible and vicious, and selfish. Though they release me, the faint sense remains that we are now somehow too entangled to be separated again, without harm to us both. The ring which lies in the palm of their hand begins to grow, and they blow it upon it, causing it to shine more brightly still. The 3 gems, now green like beacons of light. With a pleased smile, they hold out the gleaming circlet, settling it upon my head like a crown. And now that you are indeed my own, I surrender myself in turn. They drop to one knee, taking one of my hands in theirs, and placing a kiss upon it. The kiss lingers as they inhale my scent, and when the black eyes rise to meet with mine, they are filled with both pride and longing. Wait. Am I gonna get romanced by a tree god? Oh, this is a new experience for me. Usually when I'm in this situation, I'm the one that's flirting with the entities. I bow to none but you, my Meek, as you have earned my respect. They rise once more, smiling down upon me. Let us go now, and greet our subjects, Meek. A little sacrifice, no more. Wait, did you just technically marry us? My people will ply you with all you might desire, and we shall rule my realm together as companions, for as long as the stars may shine. Though a little overwhelmed by the weight of my choice, still, I step forward hand in hand with them into the place where the vegetation is brightest and bathed in golden light, passing into a world beyond all imagining, never to return. I am so glad you have come. One last thing, my Meek. You asked my name in turn, and now I shall give it to you. They lean in close, voice pitched low in an intimate whisper. My name is Burdock. Do you reckon that's actually his name? I like it. Burdock 100% just married us, right, though, if we're going to be ruling over his kingdom together. I don't hate it. Okay, so I'm curious if that's going to change our ending then, because this time we had to use the ring once with the spider. Animals quake and tremble when a danger draws too near, but you might yet have braved the risk had you thought beyond your fear. They laugh, but it holds no joy. And that's too. You chose dull brute force, where your intellect might have carried you across the air with a lighter tread. With this, the mist fall, now pulling at our ankles, and for the first time since entering the woods, I can see the glorious landscape around me, in full. The weight of their presence suddenly grows oppressively heavy, bearing down upon my shoulders with enough force for me to drop to one knee. My Meek, my own little sacrifice, though you are but mortal, still I take you now as my treasured attendant. They take my chin between finger and thumb, raising my face up. You shall serve me beyond the years most mortals may count. In turn, I will take you to a place of wonder and delight. For you are favored in my eyes, and now count among my beloved subjects. Ah, I just don't reach the perfection, huh? The isle grows more vivid and lush, my mouth filling with a taste of fresh greens, the air awash with the scent of growing things and dying ones alike. The ring still lying upon their palm rapidly expands, and they place it upon my wrist like a bracelet. Never again can you walk the path of simple mortals, but are now counted among the fae. They take my hand in their own, stepping into the place where the vegetation is brightest and bathed in golden light, and I am pulled after them into a world beyond all imagining, never to return. You know, I think I preferred it when I was queen. Okay, so I think my other two endings are going to be to do with if I was wearing the iron chain or not, right? So we're going to wrap ourselves in iron chain. I really do not want to call anyone my master. Searching the wreckage, it is not difficult to turn up the broken chain. Using the remains of the axle, I break it apart into two pieces smaller still, linking and knotting them in my ankles and wrists, then tugging the tattered fabric of my wedding attire over them once more. Then, setting the unpleasant encounter aside, I direct my thoughts to the task at hand. I have made it back to your land, Fae, and I've done it on a perfect run. I have not touched your ring. The not human reaches out and takes my wrist, then pulls back their hand sharply. Anger flashes across their face with the violence and speed of lightning, but quickly fades to wry humor. Oh, what have we here? Iron? I fall back a step, nodding warily and uncertain of the not human's mood, or what danger they now pose. I hope you are not too offended by my taking precautions with the life you've restored to me. If I have a future, I'd like it to be of my own choosing. At this, they laugh, the residual anger clearing from their brow. Clever me. You are well taught. I dislike being fooled, but still I must respect you for your scheming. You have earned your life already, and I cannot now force our bargain to my own chosen conclusion. The black eyes glint amused. How then shall you end our story, Meek? Will you discard those hateful iron cords, or come with me to my kingdom? Or are you content for us to part, leaving these lands to resume your former life? The flash of their anger is still fresh in my mind, and I hesitate. Were I to remove these chains now, I would stand before you without any protection. I could easily have struck you down well before this, were it my inclination. But it is for you to determine whether to take the risk and then learn answer, or if you are content acting on suspicion without ever confirming its truth. I chew on my lip, considering my options, the long journey home to poverty, or the uncertain fate of following the not human beyond the border of this world I know. If I remove the iron, is that going to give me the same endings that we've already received? Or would you still make me your co-ruler? You know what, we're going to keep it on. I pull myself up as tall as I can stand, meeting the not human's inquiring eyes apologetically. I am resolved to leave this place and return to live among my own kind. The not human lets out a mighty sigh, dispersing the mists entirely, and the verdant green surrounding us dims with their disappointment. They reach out as if to caress my face, but withdraw their hand again sadly, without making any contact. I should have liked to share my kingdom with you at my side to rule it, Meek. You carry the best of what your kind can offer, beyond the wildest aspirations of my own to obtain. But it is not to be. Even if I were to whisper my name to you, it will be forgotten as soon as you depart these lands. As I do not wish to be forgotten, I shan't tell it to you after all. I swallow, unsure of how to answer this, and they grin. I have now been tricked and thwarted both, but I cannot fault you for it. Your journey back will be long and arduous, but in token of the favor in which I hold you, I shall impart some final advice. Their form begins to fade, turning first dull and opaque, and then the trees which stand behind them begin to show through, as if the not human is reverting to the mist himself. I would be grateful for it, as I would expect a little sacrifice. Now listen well, your raft will carry you back to shore, but keep with you the light, and wrap the sail around you. I nod, unsure but willing. There is a copse of young trees close upon the far shore. Craft for yourself a cup of bark, filling it with water before you depart, and in your other hand select a stone, large as may be carried. Strange though the commands seem, I nod once more, only to faint outline of the non-human remaining, though their voice is no less clear. You will pass back over the chasm, which the woodsman has now bridged. Once in the wood again, fill up your pockets to the brim with the leaves that litter the ground. Lastly, make your way back to the road from which you first fell, and you shall then meet with an old friend to ferry you wherever you please. It all seems nonsense, but after the experiences I have had in treading through this old landscape, I am unwilling to disregard the offered advice. I wonder if my old friend is going to be my fish hybrid Frankenstein creature. That would be fun. Thank you for all you have done to help me. The last of the not human dissipates with the mist. You are quite welcome, my Meek, though mine no more. May you know your value to be dear, for you have won my favor, and it is a feat no other mortal has achieved. Farewell, we shall not meet again. The voice fades out and is gone. I return to my raft, pushing off from the shore where it has been tethered, but wrapping myself in its sail and holding the light in my palms. The sink sail becomes a fine cloak of silver wool, and the wisps light a glowing lantern. The raft moves off of its own accord, gently propelled to the far shore again. Now wrapped warmly in my cloak, I look for the copse of trees and peel from one a long strip of bark, shaping it into a cup and retracing my steps to the shore. I fill the cup from the lake, and finding it I am thirsty after the day's effort, I drink deeply and find it is not empty, instead refreshing itself constantly with water both sweet and clear. My thirst slack, I select from among the rocks one both large and smooth, though not so heavy as to be a burden. To my surprise, it shifts from slate to golden brown, the hard surface turning soft and spongy, and I find myself holding instead a sizable loaf of bread. A single bite alone immediately sates my gnawing appetite, and for perhaps the first time in my life, I know what it is not to hunger. I arrive at the chasm. Once more, finding the woodsman has crafted a natural-appearing bridge of fallen logs, which remains steady underfoot. The spider has returned to her delicate abode, but does not answer when I greet her. Once more I walk to the woodland path, stopping every now and again to set down my lantern and fill my pockets full of fallen golden leaves, until they are near bursting. They grow heavy as I walk, and upon pulling one out again, I find it has transformed into a golden coin, worth more on its own than anything I have earned through hard labor. Oh, Burdock, you are so kind to me! At last, I arrive back at the glade where first I began. Butterflies trundle among heavy-headed purple thistles, and I find the wreck of the carriage is now piled against the wall of the cliff. We tumble down, my erstwhile spouse vanished. I clamber up the slope of broken wood, which not only does not shift underfoot, but seems to support me in my ascent. Cresting the edge of the road from which we tumbled, I am met with a pair of fathomless black eyes, not unlike those of the not human. The horse which had once pulled our carriage now stands patiently awaiting, reins of pondweed hanging from a wooden bit, and a saddle of soft moss and leaves slung across his back. I mount the horse, my pockets now filled with gold, a warm cloak locking out the autumn chill, our lantern to show the way through the forest gloom, and sure of water, and rations for my journey. Thank you, fairy. I shall not forget your kindness. I am sure it is too unbelievable a tale to ever tell, but I will remember the truth myself, and you shall not be forgotten. I mean, this is all well and good, but how am I going to explain this to anybody? The fact that I was going home with my new spouse that I'd married that same day. My spouse is now dead, and I am rich. I don't see this ending well for us in any scenario. The horse thankfully knows its business, but I am no more accustomed to riding than I was driving, and begins our long journey back to civilization, sure-footed and strong. I arrive back with enough power to purchase a life of comfort. My late unlamented spouse granted a memorial to which no one comes. My sisters once more my own, and between the work of our own hands and the not human's gold, our lives are secured beyond anything we ever dreamed. Oh, okay, so that's how we survive. It's just that nobody liked our spouse, apparently. Still, on certain nights when the moon is full and the mist turns its light pale green, I hear the echo of the not human's voice, calling me to a land beyond the edge of all I've ever known, and now, beyond all I ever shall. You know, this is probably like the best ending on Concerns About Family, since we've now been able to get our sisters out of work. But I kind of miss being queen still. Okay, so I'm thinking then our last ending is going to be keep the chains on again, but this time we've had to use the ring once. I pull myself up as tall as I can stand, meeting the not human's inquiring eyes apologetically. I am resolved to leave this place and return to live among my own kind. The not human lets out a mighty sigh, dispersing the mists entirely, and the verdant green surrounding us dims with their disappointment. I should have liked to keep you, Meek, but the choice is no longer mine to make, so instead we part. Their form begins to fade, turning first dull and opaque, and then the trees which stand behind them begin to show through, as if the not human is reversing to mist themselves. It is a long journey, little sacrifice, but I wish you luck in making it. We shall not meet again. Goodbye, fairy, and thank you. Yep, I don't get any help this time. The last shimmerings of green vanish without any further words, and I find myself alone. I board my raft once more, and find the sail now hangs limp. Searching the island, I find a likely paddle of driftwood, and row my way back to shore. I find the woodsman spoke the truth before, and now a natural-appearing bridge of fallen logs spans the chasm. It creaks and groans underfoot, but remains sturdy through my crossing. I see several spiders along my way, but none speak in a way I can hear. The woods are loud with birdsong, but absent of pixies. One deer grazes among the trees, and then bolts at my approach. At last, I arrive back at the glade where I first began. Butterflies trundle among the heavy-handed purple thistles, and a fox that was sniffing at the wreck of the carriage starts at my approach, slinking back into the trees. A raven more bold ignores me and continues to pick daintily at the dead hand of my spouse. Looking up the face of the slope, we tumble down. I use the gouges left by our passing as hand and footholds, hoisting myself upwards and upwards, until finally I arrive back at the road from which we fell. I crouch on hands and knees for a time. Then, once I catch my breath, I push myself to standing again, and begin the long walk back to civilization. I know full well no one will ever believe the tale I have to tell, and it seems likely, with time, even I shall doubt the truth of it myself. Still, on certain nights, when the moon is full and the mists turn its light pale green, I dream strange dreams, full of faces inhuman and fey, and in the midst of it all, I can still hear the echo of the not human's voice, calling me to a land beyond the edge of all I've ever known, and now, beyond all that I ever shall. I don't reckon we had a very good life when we got back to civilization, huh? I've decided. The ending where I become queen, that's clearly the true ending. If you enjoyed that playthrough, I'd greatly appreciate if you could like this video and subscribe to this channel. But other than that, I hope you have a spooky day and I'll catch you next time, guys.